Sunday School, boys and girls. And today we are moving on into the next book of the Bible. So remember, we've been talking about Joshua and how the Israelites went into the promised land that God had given them. And now we're moving into the book of Judges. So hope you can find the book of Judges in your Bible. Remember Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, and then Judges. All right. So after Joshua died, some time passed and the people were living in the land, and unfortunately, they didn't always do what God had told them to do. Just like us today, right? One of the things they did was to intermarry with some of the other people that were still living in the land, people that didn't worship God. And they had children with those people. And they raised their families worshiping the other gods of those people rather than worshiping the one true God. So that was a bad thing to do. And whenever this would happen, they would be worshiping these other gods and not doing what God told them to do. And then bad things would happen. Bad rulers would attack them and take their stuff or put them under slavery and make them do hard work. And so they had to learn to remember that God was the one true God that they should worship. So one of these times that they were forgetting about God, a king named Jabin had conquered them and started to rule over them, and he was a very mean king. And the captain of his army was named Sisera. And Sisera had a secret weapon that he used to fight in the battles. And we find that in Judges chapter 4, verse 3. Jabin used 900 chariots that had some iron parts. He treated the Israelites very badly for 20 years, so they cried out to the Lord for help. So Jabin and Sisera had iron chariots. Now that was really advanced technology for that time period. Most of people would just walk or ride a donkey if they were able to. But most of the armies didn't have chariots or even tanks like we have now. These were kind of the tanks of that day. And so they had a lot of technology that the Israelites didn't have. So after 20 years of King Jabin and Sisera being really mean and cruel to the Israelites, they'd had enough. And they cried out to God for help. They remembered that they should worship God. And Israel's leader at that time, God had sent a leader named Deborah to rule over and be a judge and a prophet for the Israelites. In those days, a judge wasn't like someone who sat in court the way we have judges now, but it was someone who helped the people make decisions and settle arguments and often gave them a message from the Lord too, helped them remember that they should worship God. And one day she had a very important message from God for a man named Barak. And so she sent a messenger to get Barak and bring him to her. So let's read in verses 6 and 7 what her message is. Deborah sent for Barak. He was the son of Abinoam. Barak was from Kadesh in the land of Naphtali. Deborah said to Barak, "The Lord, the God of Israel, is giving you a command. He says, go, take 10,000 men from the tribes of Naphtali and Zebulun with you. Then lead them up to Mount Tabor. I will lead Sisera into a trap." So God has a plan for Barak to take an Israelite army and lead Sisera and Jabin into a trap and defeat them. But Barak was kind of scared of these 900 chariots that Sisera had, and he was not excited about Deborah's message. He said, "Okay, since God says it, I'll go, but only if you go with me." So he wanted Deborah to go with him because he was kind of afraid to obey God on his own. He needed some encouragement. And Deborah agreed to go with him and encourage him to do what God had told him to do. So they went and got the 10,000 soldiers that God had told them to get, and they took the army up to Mount Tabor. And as soon as King Jabin and Sisera heard that the Israelites were on Mount Tabor, they got their 900 chariots and they went up there to attack. But Deborah told Barak, "Go, today the Lord has given Sisera into your hands. God has gone down ahead of you." And so Barak felt that encouragement from Deborah to feel sure that God was going to defeat Sisera and all his chariots. All he had to do was trust God and let God do his job for him. So Barak and the Israelites charged down the mountain with their 10,000 soldiers against these 900 chariots. And then we read in verse 15 what happened next. As Barak's men marched out, the Lord drove Sisera away from the field of battle. The Lord scattered all of Sisera's chariots. And Barak's men struck down Sisera's army with their swords. Sisera got down from his chariot and he ran away on foot. So God fought the battle for them. God destroyed all of Sisera's chariots, just scattered them so they were not effective in fighting the Israelites. And the Israelites were able to win the battle. And then in chapter 5, verses 4 and 5, it says, "Lord, you went out from Seir. You marched out from the land of Edom. The earth shook. The heavens poured. The clouds poured down their water. The mountains shook because of the Lord. He was at Mount Sinai. They shook because of the Lord. He is the God of Israel." So it seems like God also sent a storm. So as Sisera's army was running away from the battle, all of this rain and storm and an earthquake even happened and made the field all muddy. And so all of these chariots get stuck in the mud. They thought they had the best technology, but all technology can be brought down by something, can't it? So mud is what brought down these chariots. And as Barak and his men were chasing Sisera and his army away, and they won the battle. And then Barak and Deborah sang a song to the Lord. They lifted their hands up, praising God and singing this song that's in chapter 5 about how God had fought for them and defeated the iron chariots of Sisera. They praised God and thanked him for all his mighty deeds. So sometimes you may have friends that need to do what God has told them to do, but they might need some encouragement. They might be worried about what's going to happen. And you can be that person who goes with them and go with them into battle and help them to feel the strength of the Lord and to know that God is on their side. All right. I hope you guys have a good week, and I'll see you again next week.